So in lesson 1, the introduction, we talked about applying the foundational principles of the class to our own lives, and I found that's really true. A lot of the things we've talked about have changed the way I live my life. Lesson 2, positive psychology, I liked how we talked about signature strengths as a way of using those daily and achieving authentic happiness. Mine specifically were love of learning, humility, and appreciation of beauty. Lesson 3, flourishing, we talked about well-being as a better measure of life satisfaction than happiness, which is really cool because I do think that happiness can't be a single measure of life satisfaction. Lesson 4, we talked about achieving authentic happiness, and for me I really liked when we talked about optimism for the future and just the explanatory styles and having optimism that everything will work out. Lesson 5, we talked about the how of happiness, and specifically for me, I thought it was cool when we talked about how intentional activity is 40% of happiness and circumstances are only 10%. So the takeaway for me was just that I can really influence my own happiness. Lesson 6, we talked about positivity and love. Specifically for me, what stood out was positivity resonance, and after that class, I wanted to take a commitment to invest more in other people's well-being because I think there can be a lot from committing to connect with others. Lesson 7, we talked about flow, and I specifically really resonated with the element of flow, of perception of time being altered, and I want to continue looking for activities that challenge me that I am also competent for. Lesson 8, we talked about meaning and achievement, and I thought it was really cool how we clarified the difference between a happy life and a meaningful life, and how we can find meaning through being and doing good and focusing outward. Lesson 9, we talked about happiest places, and I thought it was really cool when we talked about homes and making those kind of a sanctuary. For me, I want to have fewer TV screens in my house, let in more sunshine, and have a flow room and meditation space. Lesson 10, we talked about why we do what we do, and I liked how we talked about being intrinsically motivated. For me, I specifically want to do that in studying and in work. Lesson 11, we talked about the self-determination theory, and for me what stood out was learning how autonomy can lead to intrinsic motivation, and with that, choosing to behave responsibly. Lesson 12, we talked about the time famine and just realizing how busy life really is, and I realized that I'm probably, at least before Corona, I was trying to schedule too many things into my day and not taking enough time for myself or my relationships, and I really wanted to change that. Lesson 13, we talked about taking back your time, and it's been really great because I've been able to wake up early, read my scriptures, journal, and just have stillness and simplicity in the way I live. 14, we talked about building a good life in the digital age, and for me the takeaway was just the dangers of overconnection and how I probably need to take a step away from my phone. Like in class when we didn't have any screens, it was really cool that I could focus more and be more engaged. Lesson 15 was intentional families, and I really liked the significance of rituals and creating meaning through repeated and coordinated activities. 16 was family rituals, and I like how we talked about the specific ideas for family rituals, like the going out in a way, because right now we're all stuck at home. I've been trying to establish a family ritual of going out and going hiking with my family, which has been really cool. Chapter 17 was Last Child in the Woods, and for me it was interesting to hear about the barriers that kids have to face right now with going outside. So I felt like I could change that in maybe going outside with them or turning off the TV and just being present. Class 18, we talked about the experience economy and experience staging, and I really liked the experience components and knowing which ones applied to me. For me it was planning and anticipation, and I think using those to plan future experiences can just make them better. Lesson 19 was fostering empathy, and I really liked recognizing the way I use self-betrayal and how I betray myself and then justify that, and I want to commit to choose right more often. Lesson 20, we talked about design thinking and learning how to visualize situations with using like reframing and getting unstuck, just because I do sometimes have a narrow mindset about things. Lesson 21 was the Designing Your Life intro, and it was really cool to learn how to gain the mindset of a designer and understand the process of designing your life. And I thought it was really valuable to learn how asking for help from others can help my future. Lesson 21 was wayfinding and Odyssey plans, and we talked about creating a plan specifically for me to embrace my personality and help me get somewhere even if I don't know the destination yet. Lesson 23 was prototyping, and what I got from that was just asking people questions and how much that can impact the direction of my life. Chapter 24 was choosing happiness, and what I got from that was, I think it was a quote, was perseverance and grit is a better measure of success than IQ. And that just provided comfort to me to know that if I work hard, I can get somewhere good, and failure is okay because it provides growth.